let's start by you can tell us what your name is, full name, and where you're from.
Okay, so my name is Ligia Rivera. Married name is Jorge, and from the Bronx, born and raised.
Okay, what about your parents? Where are your parents from?
My parents are from Puerto Rico. My mother from Orocovis, and my father from Toa Alta.
Okay. And what are their names?
My mother's name was Luz Maria Ortiz, and my father, Augusto Rivera.
Okay. And did you know your grandparents at all?
I knew my grandmother on my father's side when I was little. But then she moved out to Puerto Rico, and I kind of lost contact with her till my later years.
Okay. And do you know her name? What
Maria. Her name was Maria Vargas.
Okay. And did your dad, you have any aunts and uncles?
I have plenty on my mother's side. Plenty of uncles and aunts, cousins on my mother's side.
Do you know how many aunts and uncles you had on your mom's side?
Probably about 7.
7. Okay, do you remember any of their names?
Yeah. Felix.
Last name? Do you know any of their last names?
Santos. Ortiz was a family name. Lazaro, Joe, Francesca, Milla. I think that is it.
Okay. And what about on your dad's side? Do you know?
No, not on my dad's side. He was an only child.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, so what do you remember when they came to the United States?
My mother came when she was 13.
Okay.
And interestingly, she came by boat. She came on the Marine Tiger, and it docked at Ellis Island. And I did a little research, and her name was documented on that trip.
Okay. And what you said? What year that was?
Well, she was born in 1920, and so I'm guessing she came when she was 13, so probably 1935, 32, 35.
Okay. And do you know why she came?
Her mother had passed away, and her sister had come before her, and somehow they made arrangements to bring her here to live with her sister.
Okay. So did her sister have, or did her sister have like family here, or she came by herself?
No, her sister came by herself. Because it was so long ago, I really don't know all the details, but she was married and she had 3 children. My mother lived with her for a while. Then my mother went to school for nursing and learned the language, and worked at the same job for 40 years.
Okay. Which was?
Nursing, over at Women's St. Luke's Hospital in Manhattan.
Okay. And now, do you remember the names of your mom's sister's children? 3 children?
Yeah. Two sons, Gilbert Ortiz, and he became a doctor. He went to Fordham University and graduated and became a doctor at Mount Sinai in Manhattan. The other son, Gilbert Ortiz, James Ortiz, and he was into the arts, commercial arts, which my brother worked for him. And then the daughter, Gloria Ortiz, she just had a minimal job, nothing special, just working to support herself.
Okay. And they lived in the Bronx?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And is that your
my mother's sister?
Sister right there?
Yeah, she's the one that brought her here. And I didn't mention her with my mother's other siblings, but her name was Antonia.
Okay. All right. And so she was the first one to come over.
Yes.
And then your mom came.
Mm-hmm.
And then what about the rest of the siblings? They came at the same time or later?
No, they came later.
Later?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, was she closest to Antonia?
Yes.
Okay. More so than the rest of them?
Yes. And Antonia, while my mother was going to school and working, she took care of me.
Okay. Now, when then the rest of the family came over, did they all live in the Bronx? Or they lived all over?
No, they all lived in the Bronx. Actually, in later years, her younger brother, Felix, bought a house out in Long Island.
Okay. And now, does Felix have any children that you know of?
He had 2 children, and I'm sorry, I can't remember their names.
That's fine. Were you close with any of the other aunts or uncles?
I was close with Antonia and Felix. They were the only 2 that were here. Oh, and Lazarus. He lived on Simpson Street in the Bronx, and I was close with him. And the other aunts and uncles were still living in Puerto Rico.
Oh, okay. All right, got you. In Orocovis?
I'm sorry?
Orocovis?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so it was 2 brothers and 1 sister that came, and the rest of them stayed in Puerto Rico?
Yes.
Okay, got you. All right. And now, you said that her mom died when she was 13?
Yes.
How did she die, do you know?
I believe she had scarlet fever.
Really? Okay.
And that actually, at the time, was a huge plague.
Okay. Interesting. So, and what about your grandfather? Did you ever know anything about him?
No. No.
Okay. Okay, so when your mom came to the Bronx, where in the Bronx did she settle at first?
They lived on the corner of 180th Street and Honeywell Avenue. And that was just in the Bronx Zoo area.
Okay. Okay. Is that is that North Bronx or like in the middle?
I say it's in the middle.
Uh, but technically, it would be what, south?
Um, it wouldn't be. Well, it was somewhat south, but more in the middle, not entirely north.
Okay.
More east.
Okay. East. Um. Okay. So, and now is that where you were born?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And let's see. How old were you? How old was your mom when you were born?
My mother was in her 30s.
In 30s.
Yeah, she was in her 30s. I'd say about 32.
Okay. And you had two other siblings before, right?
I had one brother and a sister, a stepsister on my father's side.
Stepsister on your father's side. Okay. And what was her name? Do you know?
Her name was Gloria.
Gloria. Do you remember last name?
Rivera.
Rivera. Okay. And you weren't very close with her, right?
No, not really. She story goes that she had a lot of issues, drugs and so on.
Okay. And then your brother, let's see, how old was he when you were born?
Well, he was 7 years older.
Okay.
Than I was.
Well, did he have the same mother and father, or was it?
He had the same mother, but his father was Mexican.
Okay. And do you know what was his last name?
His last name was Sauri.
Sauri.
Yeah, and that's Sauri. It is a Mexican surname.
Okay. And do you know anything about his father?
No, not at all. No.
Okay. And his name was, what was his name? Your brother?
Richard.
Richard
Saudi.
Okay. And he had 3 kids, right? Or 2 kids?
Yes. Later on in life, Richie changed his surname to Rivera.
Okay. And then what was his kid's name?
Benjamin, Travis, and Richard.
Richard. Okay. All right. And okay. So, all right. So you're born over here by the Bronx Zoo, right?
180th Street.
180th.
And Honeywell.
Honeywell. Okay. And what was it like for you growing up there? How how old were you when you lived there? Like, up till how old did you live there?
I lived there till I was about 9 years old.
Okay, 9 years old. So what was it like from, you were born and you were 9 years old before you moved?
The area where I lived was very diverse. Actually, the building that I lived in was very diverse. We had Jewish people living there. We had blacks living there, Hispanics, and American white people.
Okay. So in the building that you lived in, is that the building that you showed me the other day on Google?
Yes.
Google Maps?
906 East 180th Street.
Okay. And so it was like a 5-story building?
Yes.
Okay.
And we lived on the 5th floor.
5th floor. Okay. And so what could you tell me about the diversity of the building? Was it like What memories do you have about living in such a diverse building?
I think that all of the neighbors, even though every floor housed a different ethnic group, everyone there, all the neighbors were very friendly, kind of looked out for each other. It was interesting that when they cooked, you could smell their foods. Like from the fifth floor, you can smell all the Puerto Rican food, all the white food, and the Jewish, that you can smell their matzo ball soup through the hallways. And so it was kind of interesting. One thing about New York is that it's a melting pot, and you get all kind of ethnic groups melted together.
Especially at that time, right?
Yeah. We even had gypsies living across the street
Okay.
in a storefront.
Okay. And so, what about? So, okay. So you were born. What year were you born?
1951.
Born in 1951. Okay. So we're talking 1951 to 1960. That's the time that you lived in that building.
Till
1951
about, yeah,
to 1960.
51 till about 1958.
58?
Yeah.
Okay, because I thought you said he was there for 9 years.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay. So all right. So well, now what about the neighborhood? Did you were only up to 9 years old or so? So I'm sure you didn't venture out to see too much of the neighborhood.
No. I was only allowed to play like right in front of my building.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there were other children that lived in the building, and typical. And we rode our bikes, and we had skates, and we played all the street games that you typically played in New York, hopscotch, and all the other games.
Do you remember
Double Dutch.
What are some of the games that you guys used to play?
I can't remember the names, but like the girls, we did a lot of double Dutch, rope, skelecies, it's I can't remember their names,
Mm-hmm.
but we had these bottle caps
Mm-hmm.
from the sodas, and we would play with those. And you had to get them on the line on the sidewalk.
Mm. Okay. Do you have? Would you say it was good memories, living there?
Yeah, it was good memories.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else that sticks out to you about that time living there in that building? Anything else that sticks out in your life or in your experience, whether about New York or the building or the neighborhood or just the family or anything?
We was a close knit neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
We looked out for each other. The neighboring stores, like there was a panera, and we could go there and buy fresh baked bread. Of course, we had bodegas, and just a typical Puerto Rican neighborhood.
Puerto Rican neighborhood.
Yeah.
So now you said that your building was diverse, but
Yes.
Would you say the neighborhood was primarily Puerto Rican?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, it was a mixture.
It was a mixture. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know? Could you say what the dominant race, or was it just all mixed?
At that time, it was all mixed.
All mixed. Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. So, all right. So after that, you said around 58, or in between 58 and 60, you lived there. So then, where'd you go from after that?
After that, my mother and father separated, and I and my mother moved. Well, my brother had married already,
Mm-hmm.
and so we moved to 174th Street near Bronx River.
Okay.
It was Longfellow Avenue.
Okay. All right. So now you said your brother married, and he was 7 years older than you.
Yeah,
Okay. So if you were 9, then I mean he would be 16.
yeah. He married very young,
Mm-hmm.
right after high school.
Okay. All right. So let's say 16 or 17 around there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And now, do you want to tell me the story about why you guys moved, or do you not want to? Do you want to talk? Can you talk about that or
Um,
not?
my parents separated because my father was into the street life. Um, at that time, they had what they call fences, and he would buy stolen items and resell them, all kind of stuff, good jewelry, good perfumes, um, different items. But he was also a pothead,
Mm-hmm.
and he would deal in weed, and he would hang out at this one bar right on 180th Street, and he was there like practically all day, and my after work, and if I ever needed anything, all I need to do was to go to that bar and stand outside and flag him down, and he would come out, whatever I needed. I remember the one time when, I don't know if my mother called the police or they just came, I'm not sure, I don't recall. But the police came to my house, and my mother showed the cops where all the weed was, just in the refrigerator for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And after that incident, shortly after is when they separated.
Got you. Okay. So now, do you remember having a pretty good relationship with your father?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I had a good relationship with him. I actually adored my father. I just adored him. He was funny, he was witty, he was very cultural. He had an awesome collection of jazz records. He would hang out and had a lot of friends out in Harlem. Because the hospital where they worked wasn't too far from there.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew a lot of people from that area.
Okay. Now, let's see. Physically, how would you describe him? What do you look like?
He was dark skinned, not not totally mulatto, but fairly dark skinned.
Mm-hmm.
Had a mustache, average height.
Okay. Did he have like an afro, or does he have like, or just
No, he had
straight
curly hair,
curly hair?
but not an afro.
Okay. Now, this was before. Was this before afros were popular?
Just before.
Just before. Okay.
Yeah,
So he
just
had like a
before.
clean cut.
Yeah, yeah. In those days, the men wore ties,
Mm.
and they wore white shirts, and they wore hats, dress hats.
Mm-hmm.
You know, very clean cut looking.
Okay. And okay. So now you said he was into jazz music.
Yeah.
He didn't. Did he play any instruments, or he just liked to
No,
listen?
he didn't play any instruments. He just loved jazz music.
Okay. Well, what about your? Did he play jazz in the house?
Yes.
A lot of jazz. What about your mom? Did she play any music at home?
My mother loved the Aguilar music, Puerto Rican folk music.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And growing up, you listened to that music when she played on the record player or something like that?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, all right. So you moved to, was it 170?
174th Street, Longfellow.
174 in Longfellow. Now that's east. Is that further east from where you were at?
Going more towards south.
Southeast? Okay. And so, do you remember your address there?
1777 Longfellow Avenue.
Okay. And what was that building like?
That was a tenement building. It had quite a few apartments in there. It was kind of like 3 buildings in one.
3 buildings in one?
Yeah.
Okay. And how many floors were these buildings?
5.
5 floors?
Yeah.
Did they have a fire escape and all that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So similar to your other one that you lived?
Yes.
Okay. And now, what was it? Now you're becoming like almost a preteen in this new building.
Yeah.
So what was it like? Well, first of all, what elementary school? Do you remember what elementary school you went to?
Elementary school, before we moved, was PS 67.
Mm-hmm.
And that was right on the corner of Honeywell. And when we moved, I was actually getting ready to go into junior high.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 44, PS 44.
PS 44.
Yeah, right off of Tremont Avenue.
And is that after you moved?
Yes.
That's where you went. Okay. And what was this in this new block? This new neighborhood. What was it like? Or was it pretty much the same, or?
It was pretty much the same now. You have kids growing up there, and you make friends. You make friends with kids, and you all pretty much go to the same school.
Mm-hmm.
So you have friends from school, and you have friends from the neighborhood.
Yeah. So we're talking the early 60s now.
Yeah.
Right? So what was the popular music? Can you tell me about the popular music at that time?
Popular music
Mm-hmm.
was
early 60s.
The British wave came in. The Beatles, Rolling Stones, the Monkees, all the British groups.
Did you like that stuff?
Really wasn't into it that much.
Mm-hmm.
I always kind of stuck to Hispanic music, salsa. Yeah.
Okay. So when did you hear salsa? I mean, when did salsa come into? Because you said your mom played traditional Puerto Rican music.
Yeah.
So when did the salsa stuff become something that you gravitated to?
I think probably right around 1965 is when it started really booming.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So 1965. So you're about 15?
Yes, I was in junior high.
Okay.
Yeah.
Junior high. Okay. So you're probably 14 or something like that. So okay. So the salsa comes in mid 60s.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of the groups that first, when it first started booming? You remember any of the groups you liked or anything like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, too numerous to mention, but I loved the sound of Willie Colon, Tito Puente. Oh gosh, there was so many.
Right. Now, let me ask you this. Because I know Willie Colon, he didn't come out till the late 60s, right? But before him was Tito Puente and you know, maybe Ray Barretto, different people.
Yeah.
Um, now, were there, did you hear about or know about any like Latin clubs that played a lot of this music?
Oh, yeah. There were a lot of Latin clubs all over New York, Bronx. You have the Hunts Point Palace, which was a big club where, you know, you can go and dance salsa. There was another club in Brooklyn, the George, I think it was called the Georgetown Hotel. Of course, in Manhattan, there were other clubs that, which I forget their names, but yeah, there were a lot of clubs.
Did you go to any of these clubs?
Yes, yeah, yep.
Okay, so
that was my weekend thing. I went to clubs every weekend with my friends, and we danced the night away.
Salsa.
Yes.
Okay. So then, so you're talking when you're like teenager.
Yeah.
Maybe was it like in the late 60s?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
60s.
16, 17, 18.
Okay. So, did you ever hear about the Palladium?
The Palladium?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've never been there, but yes, I heard.
You heard of it?
Tito Puente used to play there a lot.
Okay. Was it going on when you were going out? Or was that before?
Yes, no.
It was going on?
Yeah.
Okay. What about, you ever hear about, what was the other one? The Cheetah?
The Cheetah, yeah.
Cheetah, it was the Cheetah Lounge or something like that?
That was down on 54th Street.
Okay. Did you ever go there?
I never went there.
Okay. All right. You said you went to Brooklyn though, right?
Yes. I think it was called the St. George Hotel. That's what it was called, yeah.
Okay. Now, what about in the Bronx? Was there any spots that you like to go to in the Bronx?
There were many spots that had salsa music. Unfortunately, I can't remember their names.
That's fine.
It was so long ago.
Well, what about dancing salsa? Do you remember the first time that you learned how to dance salsa?
Probably about, I would say 14.
14.
When I became really interested in it and danced it, and was I was never into the British wave.
Got you. So, what was your first? Do you remember your first experience with dancing salsa, or is it just
with family?
Family parties, family parties and stuff like that.
Yeah, just with family. Now, in my high school years, I had a boyfriend who, we danced and danced and danced, and we were good together. We were good partners, and we just loved it.
Now, will you go to the clubs, these clubs with him?
Yes. Yeah, and home parties.
Okay. And what was his name? Do you remember?
His name was Ray.
Ray. His last name?
Last name was Aponte.
Okay. All right. So you guys made good salsa partners.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Any memorable stories that you can think of, like, or do you want to share about those times when you would go out dancing salsa?
The funny thing is that when I went out with my girlfriends, we would get on the subway, on the train at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and not think anything about it. We never thought we were in danger. We never thought that something could happen to us. We were just, for the most part, stoned and just enjoying the evening.
Got you. So, okay, so, let's see. Now, what about the boogaloo and stuff like that? The dances. You remember any, like, besides salsa, like any of the popular dances that were around at that time?
Well, yeah, there were, besides salsa, there was, of course, the boogaloo. Earlier, there was the twist, the jerk, the funky chicken.
Yeah.
The slide. Yeah.
And did you used to dance these too?
Yeah.
Was that
occasionally. Just for fun.
Were they like just something that all the kids did at that time?
Yes. Yeah, it was just kind of like a fad.
You go to like maybe the school dances or something like that and they were doing it, or?
No, I never went to school dances, but just hung out with my friends, and we'd hang out on the stoop and we'd hear music and we'd try to imitate those dances.
Okay. So, now boogaloo was like real big. Did you get into that pretty good?
I was into it, but not overly.
Overly? No, the salsa was like your main thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, how up to how old did you live there? And was it 174?
Yes.
Yeah.
I lived there until I graduated high school.
And what high school did you go to?
I went to James Monroe High School out by Westchester, Bronx River, out in that area.
Okay. And
the Soundview area.
How far was that from where you lived?
Well, I can walk to the school. I'd say maybe less than 2 miles.
Okay. All right. Did you walk or did you usually take a bus?
I walked. Yeah,
Okay.
I walked over the bridge.
Okay. And what year did you graduate?
1970.
1970. Okay. And
I should have graduated in 1969, but I played so much hooky that I got left back.
Really?
So ended up graduating in 1970.
Okay. So, okay. So, and when you play hooky, where would you go?
Oh, friend's house. We had a couple of friends. Their parents worked, and so we'd hang out at their home and until 3 o'clock till it was time to come back home.
Oh. Did you ever get caught?
Yeah, I did actually. I guess they telephoned my mother at her work and told her that I've been excessively absent in school. And my mother, of course, had no knowledge. And so she came to the school one day, and unfortunately, I was outside leaning against the car with Ray when I spotted my mother coming up the hill. That was not a pretty sight. So yeah, got in trouble, and that's why I got left back.
Did you get a pretty big? How did she discipline you at that time?
Oh, she yelled.
She
She just yelled. Yeah, she had very strong vernacular. And yeah.
Okay. And she didn't ground you or anything like that?
No, we didn't know about we didn't know about grounding. At that time, the belt was the big deal.
Okay.
Y la chancleta.
So she used to hit you?
Yeah.
Yeah, discipline you and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Okay. So did you get a butt whooping that day?
I sure did. I sure did, and wasn't allowed to hang out with my friends for a long time.
Okay, well that's grounding.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah.
That's grounding. Okay, so all right. Now, what else sticks out in your? Is there anything else that sticks out in your memory as far as your high school years? Yeah, anything that
my high school years were great. I had a lot of friends, hung out with friends, went to parties. In a way, though, my mother was kind of strict with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess being a single mother in the Bronx, I understood where she was coming from. But she would allow me occasionally to go to parties at my friend's house and hang out with them.
Do you ever have any traumatic experiences? Anything, that's, bad? Any bad experiences that really stick out to your memory?
I remember this one time, just when I was leaving junior high school, the last year, 9th grade, is where I met my husband. And he, unfortunately, at the time, was just got himself into a lot of trouble. And
what kind of trouble?
He stole the lady's purse.
Hmm.
He was already dabbling in drugs, and he stole a lady's purse, and he got busted. And
what kind of drugs was he dabbling in? Do you remember?
Weed and heroin.
Okay. And how old were you guys at that time?
At that time,
You were moving
about 15.
15, so it was your last year in junior high?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I found out that he had gotten busted, and they sent him to juvenile detention home out in Spofford, out by the Hunts Point area. And when I found out about that, I got so drunk. I got so drunk on wine that they called my mother to come and pick me up from school because I was just so out of it. And that was pretty traumatic.
Do you remember the first time that you drank or smoked?
No, I don't.
It was a young age?
Don't. But, like all kids, you kind of experiment.
Yeah, parties and stuff like that.
Yeah, you experiment smoking and drinking.
Let me ask you this. Do you remember the first time you met Dad?
Yes, I certainly do.
Okay, can you talk about it?
So, he was transferred to PS 44 from Herman Ritter, PS 98. And they had just moved. So weird. He had just moved to Honeywell Avenue, where I used to live. And I saw him one day sitting downstairs outside the principal's office, and they were doing the process to have him start going to that school. And I went to the principal's office to deliver some kind of document, and he saw me and just started saying things that boys would say to a pretty girl.
What did he say?
He would say, like, "Oh, Mama, I love your legs." And from that point on, he just kept looking at me. Every time I would see him in the hallway, it was a long stare. He would always be looking at me and asking about me.
So he wasn't shy when he first met you?
No, not at all.
And what did he look like? What did he look like physically?
He was, had very dark black hair, had dreamy eyes. He was actually very handsome, very good looking.
What about his style at that time?
That style?
Style of dress. His style of clothing.
It was the 60s, so he used to have this black leather jacket that he used to wear, and not quite a hippie yet, but you know.
It was just like during that British wave?
That was after, yeah. That was after.
After that, okay.
Yeah.
So you said he had a leather jacket?
He used to love a leather jacket that he used to wear, and he used to love this. There was a TV show called Inspector Gadget, and the character wore a long trench coat. And so he would make jokes about that, and he would have a trench coat and try to imitate the character.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. And that was the cartoon, right?
That was a regular TV show.
Oh, so it wasn't a cartoon yet?
No.
Wow. Okay, so he liked that character?
Yeah, he liked that character. And at that time, all the new spy James Bond movies were becoming very popular. And the first movie we went to up on Fordham Road was a James Bond movie.
Okay, which one? Do you remember?
It was To Russia with Love.
Okay, To Russia with Love. And do you remember the first time that you said that you met him in the hallway, and then from there he would just kind of hit on you when he saw you. So do you remember the first time you guys had a conversation?
Yes, one day he was waiting for me after school and offered to walk me home and carry my books. And so I did. I allowed him to walk me home. And then, from then on, he asked me to be his girlfriend. And I said, yeah. And so, we had a little boyfriend-girlfriend relationship.
Mm-hmm. Now, how long did your relationship last until he got sent away to the correctional facility?
Couple months.
Couple
months, yeah.
Okay.
Because we were in school.
Yeah. Okay. Now, and that was junior high, last year of junior high school?
Yes.
Okay. And so, after that, how did you, what happened after he got sent away?
After he got sent away, we wrote to each other for maybe about a month, and Then he broke it off and said that unfortunately he had gotten another girl pregnant.
Really?
And so he had to break off his relationship with me, which at the time he had already been sent upstate to Otisville juvenile prison.
Mm.
And so, we hadn't seen each other or kept in touch with each other until one day I was just thinking about him, and I looked his phone number up in the phone book, his family name, and I found it, and I called him. He was already out. He had already done his time, and he was out. And so I called him, and we made arrangements to meet where he lived over in Honeywell. And we saw each other, kept in touch for a little bit, but not for long. He was already pretty much delving into hard drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I purposed to not be too involved with him.
Mm.
And then I found out that he went to California to hang out with the hippie movement.
Mm.
Straight Ashbury, that whole hippie scene.
Mm.
And I hadn't heard from him, haven't talked to him for a long time.
Okay, so let's backtrack real quick. So he gets sent away to you said the first
Otisville
the first correctional facility
was
in
around
New York?
Hunts Point.
Hunts
yeah,
Point.
yeah.
And then from there they sent him upstate?
Yes.
Was that like after his sentencing or something like
Yeah.
that? Okay. All right. And so you guys just kept in touch with letters?
Yes.
Okay. And so no, you said you said he had gotten someone pregnant.
That's what he said. That's what he said. And I knew the girl from school. I knew who she was.
He told you who it was?
Yeah. And I knew her from school. We went to the same high school.
Do you remember what her name was?
Mickey. Her name was Mickey.
Mickey, last name, do you know?
Yeah, no. And so I confronted her one day in school, and I asked her, and apparently they grew up in Simpson Street area together.
Mm-hmm.
And they knew each other for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I confronted her and told her, she said that was all a lie and it wasn't true. And she said that he had just manufactured that. It wasn't true at all.
So he just made it as an excuse to break up with you?
Yes. Yeah, it was an excuse.
Okay. Now, were you friends with her, or you just knew her?
No, I wasn't friends with her. I just knew who she was.
Okay. Now, did you ever tell him? Did you ever talk to him about that after the fact?
Yeah.
Like, why did you lie to me or whatever?
Yes. Of course, he didn't have any good answers.
Okay.
He didn't have any good answers, and that's fine, okay. So by that time, I was already in high school, and I was seeing Ray,
Mm-hmm.
and so never pursued the relationship again.
Now, when you looked him up in the phone book, right? Were you in high school at this point?
Yes.
So you already had a boyfriend.
Yes.
Okay, and you went to look for Dad.
Yeah, I wanted to hang out with him and see how he was.
Now, did you tell Ray about that?
No.
Okay. All right. So, and then when you saw him, you were like, kind of not you wishing to really keep in contact with him too much.
Yeah, because he was already knee deep in drugs, and I just chose to stay away from him.
Now, at that point, was it the hippie movement coming in?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And now, were you into the hippie movement apart from
No.
him, or
No, not
that
at
was
all.
his thing?
He went out to California
Mm-hmm.
To be a part of the hippie movement, and he was gone like for a year out there. Dove into drugs and that whole scene out there.
Yeah.
But I didn't see him again. I was out of school already, and you know, surprisingly, we had moved to 167 in Grand Concourse.
Mm-hmm.
We had moved there.
Was that, what year did you move there?
1970 maybe.
So it was
71.
right after you graduated?
Yeah. And surprisingly, his family was living 2 blocks away from me. And I never ran into him or anything, except for one day I was walking on 167th and ran into him in the street. He was walking with his brother, Willie, and we saw each other, and he was coming back from a methadone program.
Mm-hmm.
And so we stopped, chatted for a bit, and he asked me for my phone number. I gave it to him, and so then we started talking again.
Okay. So he was obviously trying to get clean.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yes.
Right. Now, was his brother trying to get clean too?
His brother